Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a great pleasure and a privilege to have all of you in the morning. I know how difficult it is to have you assembled on a Friday morning, and I'm sure we've got people ranging from just been in college for the last 2-3 years and out of college and working with the family for the last few years, and there are people who had worked with the family and seen everything for the last 15 years. So we've got quite a range of people who have been participating. So I think thanks for making it on time. I think the rest would follow in some time. So I think that's great to have you early in the morning. Before I kick off, the professor comes and does this session. I would like to say a few words about Metis. I and Suresh, as partners, we founded this in the year 2010, June 2010, after working for about close to 17 years in banking. A bulk of our banking experience has been in commercial banking, working with entrepreneurs like your family members, and it's all along has been dealing with money, with those families and businesses. And we had a unique understanding of the businesses, as well as the families with whom we worked. And it was our conviction that there could be a space which could be carved out, and we could become a good family business advisor in the form of family office. And that's seen the birth of Metis Family Office in the year 2010. And it's fantastic with some of you, with some of personally, as well as some of your senior family members. We have been working, and there are some families which we aspire to work with in near future. So that's a brief about Metis. I would want to say one thing. If there is one thing which is visible as well as clear cut in this room, I could say only one thing, which is how much blessed you are and how much born. I do not want to use the word born with silver spoon, but I could only say that you are born in a family which has set a platform for you, which has given a network for you, which has given much more than anything which could otherwise be given for any other family members. To that extent, you are blessed, privileged, and you are on a pedestal from day one in most of the families, and that's something which is not easy for many of us. Having said that, how is that world view you? Is that something is the same thing they view you? I don't think so. If you look at from culture to culture, every culture, they don't view you in that way which I just said. Okay, and these days it's fashionable to quote anything from Chinese, because I think even our Prime Minister wants to benchmark ourselves with China. So everyone, for good reasons, it's not unlike those days when our communist friends were quoting China. These days I think all the capitalists and good things have been compared with China. There is a Chinese proverb which goes this way. It clearly says, it articulates, wealth does not last beyond 3 generations. And it's very telling. And if you have to go to all the generations, for example, all the cultures, be it Arabian culture, Indian culture, you go, I think, go to American slang, every culture, I think, is so critical of 3 generations and talk about successive generations in not so positive way. And that's something which one needs to take it with a pinch of salt. And that's a truth. And that's a bitter truth. The reason why I'm saying it is bitter truth, if you have to compare it with our context of Indian family businesses and seen how businesses have gone beyond generations, it's not more than 4 or 5% which has lasted beyond 3 generations and 4 generations. And that's the bitter truth of our Indian businesses. And that's something which is very telling, because it's very clear that we don't go beyond 3 or 4 generations. Is life so negative for successive generations, or for the people who are born into such good platform and good network and good privileges? Is life such bad thing? I don't think so. And there are many stories which have defied this, and there are businesses which have lasted more than 100 odd years. Even in Indian context, you got families which have gone beyond 100 years. But I would like to give one story, which is of a Germany family business, which I found out when I attended one of the professor conferences. I think he was a keynote speaker. He comes from a pharmaceutical family. That speaker was saying, it's a family called Merck. It's not the Merck Pharmaceuticals of US. I'm given to understand even that branched out of the Germany one. they have lasted for about more than close to 350 years and going strong. And like there is an election which happens in the family members to decide who becomes the family board representative. The last count, I think 3 years back in Professor Council, like which he mentioned, was about 150 odd people sitting and electing who from the family should be participating like on behalf of the family in the board making decisions. So there are quite a bit of stories which give, which defied all these like sayings and negative connotations. The best of all is something like from the Japanese temple builder. It's a name, I'm not sure whether I'm going to pronounce it right, but I think if I can get it right, it's called Gongo Gumi. This is a business like which started in the year 578 BC and lasted till 2007. The company is still existing, but the same family has been running it for 1400 years, and that has been recorded in the history as the longest serving family business or family conglomerate. And that's a great story, and that company still exists. Only in 2007 they got into some financial troubles, but it has been bought over. The company still exists. 1 or 2 family members still are there, but the family has become minority. So there are great stories to make sure all those negative things which have been said on family businesses is not something like which is true or which need to be accepted on face value. And that's and that's on the longevity. What about like I think some of the other things? Like I'm a big fan of Mel Gibson. The kind of movies he makes. Incidentally, like I am born on the same day like where he was also born. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I became a good fan of Mel Gibson. One of the movies which he directed few years back, Apocalypto, you would have seen in that movie there's one famous dialogue. This is on Mayan culture, which goes like this. I'll just read it out so that I don't miss out the dialogue. It says, "A great empire is not conquered from without until it destroyed itself from within." It says clearly that like unless you do the damage to yourself, you do the self-inflicting injuries, you don't go down. And like quite often, like I think we have a reasonable experience. Professor has got many years of experience. There are stories out which says how internal bickerings of families do affect businesses, and how like I think they can cause more harm than the business itself. Okay, that's one side of the story. Look at the positive side of the story. I think that appeared about 4 days back in ET. I know how many of you would have seen that. That's on the Bajaj family. And like if you look at them, like they had a demerger of responsibilities between the family, 2 brothers. And like after the demerger which happened in the last decade, the company has grown manifold, multiple times like it has grown. I just want to quote, and he is like my inspiration, like for on some of these family business meetings which we conduct, and I always used to love to quote from Rajiv Bajaj. He said 2 things and they stand out, and maybe that's the mantra which the family followed. The quote one goes like this: in a family business, 20% of weight should go to the family and 80% to the business. So he clearly says underplay the emotions and look at the business. I'm not sure whether it is right, but it's a quote. And the second one, and that's more telling, he says like if you strive to ensure the business is doing well, the family will invariably be happy. So take care of the business, it automatically takes care of the family. And that's his like mantra for like the kind of growth like which Bajaj family has seen. So it's all that, not like whatever has been a negative story like it appears in the family business, there are stronger and more powerful positive stories like which impact, which comes to our mind like when it comes to family business. Okay, what does that mean to us at Metis? So like we had the privilege of working with families like yours, and we always seen like at some point in time we felt it's important that like we make a powerful intervention at the next generation level. We understood that without the intervention at the next generation level, it's not going to be completely done as far as our job is concerned. And that's the conviction we have, and that's one of the reasons we said this time when we do Confluence, we need to have a next generation session. And like we were wanting to name it appropriately, and like we need to name this particular initiative appropriately, and that's when like we came out with the name Chanakya. And Chanakya is a great character in Indian history. But I would want to say, I think we Indians, we love making any great characters into smaller smaller versions of people, because like you can, you go to Gujarat, like I think Gandhiji will be called Gujarati, and yes, of course, but I think you don't want to be seen him as a Gujarati leader, and that's something like which you have done to every great personality in this country, reduced him to something which is smaller. But I think that same thing is true with Chanakya, like he gets associated with all kinds of people. But to me, to us, to Metis, Chanakya stands for two good things. There are two traits like which makes him stand apart from the rest of us. Which means one is that like he is one guy who said at any cost, not even at any cost, at all cost, I should protect the empire and the emperor. And that's something like which is great. Number two is the morality which he stood for. You go after his quotes, go through his quotes, you will get he stood for these two things. We at Metis, we believe like with the families we work for, we are here to make sure that the family well-being of the families which we work with, family businesses, are taken care at any cost, and like we would like to live great values with great morality. And with that, we thought like I think Chanakya is the best man to represent like if there is a knowledge sharing session which could be created for next generation, and that's the session which we have created, which is named after Chanakya. And this is like the prelude of like what we are going to have today. And here like there is a man, here is a man like Professor K. Ramachandran. He is like an elusive angel, I would say elusive teenage girl for us. We have been chasing him for the last 4 years to get him somehow to one of our sessions like as a lead speaker. For some reasons or the other, we always missed him. But today like I think finally like he consented to come, and it's a great occasion for us. And like there is no great privilege for me to introduce him than anything else today. Okay, and he is a man like with 33 years of experience and a strong academician in the country has seen like in family business. He has worked in IMA. Currently, he is the dean of the Family Business and Wealth Management Chair, which is named after Professor. Hopefully, I get the name right. Don't ring me, so I think you can correct it after some time. The name goes as Thomas Smitney. Okay, hope I am right. Okay, so don't hold me to that. And he has been like one outstanding academician. He produced 6 books. He has edited many journals and everything on family business. He consults like various large family businesses in this country. He is on the board of like many family businesses. For confidential reasons, like I'm not in a position to give you, but I remember like the year we contacted him, 2010, he was the only one person like who was invited by President Obama, if I write, Professor, that year we missed you because of that, on the family business conference or something which he was having in White House. You were the only Indian to be invited on that day. I think that was a proud moment for you as well as ISB, for some of us who followed you from that day. He has been associated with Family Business Network International, Family Business Network International for several years, and he has been on various advisory committees of Government of India, SEBI, and many other initiatives. With this, I think I can go on and on Professor for the entire day, but I think given the short time, like I think this is more than I made justice to Professor's profile. With these words, I would like to invite Professor Ramachandran to take it over from here. Thank you, Professor. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Bala, for the kind introduction. So, good morning to you. It's a great day, great privilege to be here, and I would like to congratulate Bala and Suresh for 2 things. One is for organizing this kind of an event, which is a must, which is which is overdue in the Indian context. These kinds of events are overdue. We don't have many such events. We don't have many such platforms. Learning, sharing experiences. So from that angle, I would say that this is great. The second is that there is a huge need for supporting business families in many ways. And even now there is a huge space, and that is a vacuum which is not being filled by many professionals. So in this to this space, the Bala and Suresh jumped in, giving up their, so to say, the cushy, the finance banking career. So therefore, it is entrepreneurship in the right way, right context. And I remember the chairman of a large business house once told me that, Ram, you are doing social service. because as Bala said, most of the business families come, build and disappear. And I would say those who believe in the Hindu philosophy, that it's more like the Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So they create, they preserve and they destroy the families. So it's all the same thing. So into this phase, I mean, if there is a huge need for service, there is a huge need for support. That's what the chairman told me, that more than academics, more than anything else, you are doing a social service, it helps the families. So I would attribute the same thing to the Metis team, which is doing a great job. It's a great initiative. I mean, besides the commercial or other parts, I would say there is a huge social benefit also. Okay, so I want to spend some time with you openly, frankly, and therefore I think that the best thing I can do is to come down from the stage and be on the same level. We have the whole morning with us. We will build the morning as we go along. I have a sort of a structured outline the presentation, but I'm ready to move around. And essentially, at the end of the day, you should have some value add. You should be able to take home some benefits. Okay. So I will start with my presentation, but that's only to start with some building blocks. Okay. We will have, I think Mr. Gopal Srinivasan from the TVS family is also going to come and share some of his experiences. I don't know how many of you know him or interacted with him. This is a 5th generation, 5 generation old family business, 3 generations, 3 or 4, 4th generation. Yeah, it's a great family, and so Gopal will be here to share some of his experiences and why the TS family is strong, built together. And we will have Mr. Tattvamasi Dikshit also. He is one of the foremost advisors in this space, and is the dean of an institute going to be set up by the GMR family for addressing the family businesses. Okay, so we'll have a pool of people besides you. I know that all of you have experiences of differing levels, different mixes. Okay, let me start by talking about the topic that we thought that whatever is relevant for the younger generation should be the theme. Okay, that's the reason we called it engage, encourage, and enlighten. Well, this is about the school. I'm not promoting ISB. I just wanted to show you this picture. I've been the ISB, as Bala said, I've been there for quite some time. Since beginning of ISB, I've been there. We have a major initiative on family business, and I would say in some respects, ISB is the pioneer in terms of building a sort of an environment within the country to discuss family business issues, because otherwise very often people are uncomfortable talking about family business. Family business is supposed to be or considered to be not glamorous. So we were bold enough, we found that there is a huge need, essentially because if you look at it, you find that the contribution to the economy is phenomenal. Okay. How many of the top 50 companies are family controlled? Any idea? If you take top 50, nifty 50 kind of thing, approximately. Any numbers you have? Sorry? 12. 50, 50. You're almost there. It's about 25, 26. The rest are public sector. Most of the banks, steel companies, oil companies, okay, and plus a few companies like the Infosys, which I have categorized it now as a family business, which was not. Okay, so there are a few other companies, but if you take the numbers to ET 500 or the top 500 or 1000 companies, you get about 500, about 73% are family controlled. Okay, and if you increase the numbers to 1,000, it goes beyond 80-85%. So essentially, the Indian economy is driven by family businesses, which most people do not appreciate. Because if the economy has grown over the period, it's primarily because the environment was created, but the contribution has come from families. How do they perform? Any idea? I mean, if the economy is doing well, it's primarily because of this. Okay. So the contribution has been very high, and also overall profitability on a long-term basis is much higher for family business. It's not only in India, but across the world, the research shows that family businesses contribute on a long-term basis much more than the other companies. So do you have any idea why it is so? What do you think? Any idea why the family businesses are performing better than non-family businesses? Don't feel pressurized. I'm not trying to pick few. I mean, we do it in the MBA class. We go and find out whoever is quiet and then start asking questions. It's not like that, but if you feel like responding, you can do that.
Because they grow with it.
Sorry?
They grow with it.
They grow with it? Yes?
They brought up with it.
Right.
They are normally inspired to.
So the inspiration, commitment, passion is there. The owner's passion is there. Right. And also just to add to that, which means that the purpose is not a quarterly performance. You are not driven by the stock market so much. You are often driven by the long-term thing. Yesterday, when we were discussing about the Wipro in some context, apparently Azim Premji said that I'm not running this for stock market. I'm not running it for quarterly performance. I have a long-term agenda. So at some point, the business will earn profits. Sometimes it may not earn profits, but we are going to build a lasting, founding, a strong organization. That's what if you look at any company, I mean, Bala mentioned about Merck, and I think the LED technology came from Merck. For about 30 years, they have a very strong pharma business as we know, but they have a very strong chemicals business. Okay, so I was recently last week in their lab in near Frankfurt, and I visited their lab, and which is a phenomenal chemical research laboratory. And they said that one of the employees came up with the idea of LED 30 years or 40 years back, and the family chairman said that let's put some money there, few millions, doesn't matter. Okay, and somebody else said that it's not yielding results. Why should we continue that? The family said that it doesn't matter. Let's continue with that. And that actually gave them huge margins, huge business from LED over a period of time. So the family's typical approach is that continuity. You are not doing it for this generation or for the today. And if you look at your own seniors, why did they take the hardship and build? It's very often because you believe that you are building for the next generation or the future generations. I mean, typically again, Indian culture is that we want to take care of the future family. Okay, so I think that's the fundamental thing that makes the profitability better, because you can avoid the peaks and curves and steady the journey. You have also yet another reason, just to add to that, is that the family businesses have a huge resource basket. Okay, something unique. Can you think of some of the key resources families has? Why the family businesses are different, and what's unique about the resources capabilities of the families? Anybody? No. Let them shout. Thank you. I mean, don't worry about it. I'll ask them to speak louder. Do you have any idea? Anybody? What's the? I mean, if you take a family business versus a public sector unit or a standalone entrepreneurial venture who is struggling to build business, I mean, if you compare yourself with somebody from out of college who doesn't have any family connection, there is a difference. Okay. So what is the uniqueness? What is the resource that you have if you are a family business?
There's the trust in
Trust in whom? Right. So the employees trust you. Okay, employees, that means that you can recruit more people into the venture because there is already a brand equity, there is a reputation. So there is a family reputation which helps you attract, it's not only employees but also bank loan if you need, okay, or investments, or even technology if you want to collaborate with somebody else. Somebody said about the Japanese collaboration now. Okay, so that's one thing. Anything else? Sorry? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You have the mentorship, you have the guidance. And typically standalone entrepreneurs do not have that. They don't, and that's one of the reasons why they hesitate to take risk beyond a point. There is, here you say that you jump in, nothing will happen kind of. Okay. Absolutely, absolutely. Anything else? Yes. Absolutely. You have that identity and driven by values. And that enable you to build on a long-term basis. Correct? So there are many, many advantages, many, many benefits of being part of the family. So I have listed some of the resources. Entrepreneur grooming, I think that's what you said. Economic resources, you have access to funds. I mean, liquid funds or illiquid funds, that's a major thing. You have a social network, this is a big thing. You want to talk to somebody, somebody in the family will be able to get the door open. Okay. Reputation, mention that. Industry insights, there are many people who can share, I mean, it's a combination, sometimes within the family, sometimes the network will provide you with industry inputs. Committed manpower, I think that's what you said. Overall, you have a lot of emotional support, which means that there is nothing else you can think of. I think that's what Bala also mentioned in the introduction, that you are all sort of a privileged or fortunate, isn't it? Okay. So you start with a resource basket. You start with a positive. You start with an advantage. The question is that, can you take it for granted? And my experience is that you can't take it for granted. Okay, it's all there, and very often we assume that it's there, but unless you build, it's not there. Unless you tap it, it's not there. So it's not a free thing that you can assume. The reason is that, as Bala said, most family businesses do not survive beyond 3 generations. He said about, I think 4%, 5% kind of statistics. That's the third generation. By the time it becomes second generation, it's about 15% or 14% that survive the generation. Okay, so if you start with 100 families, by the time you come to the third generation, you have 5 families. If you look at the Indian context, we have a short industrial history. I mean, most of them started either post-independence or closer to that time, or started as traders and all. But given this, we have very few families which have withstood the test of time and built reputation, grown. Okay, 3 families that I respect, I admire, and I very often talk about. One is that the local Murigappa group, which has stood the test of time competitively, but also reputation. They don't compromise on values. They don't bother about the politician. They don't bother about many things. Okay, very strict rules are there, traditions are there. Then similar is the Godrej family from Mumbai. Another family I often quote is the Dabar family, which is also 5 generations. Dabar is much smaller than the conglomerates like Godrej and Murugappa, but all of them have followed certain principles, certain practices, certain traditions to build it across. So which means that there are few families which have withstood, and as Bala said, you have the Merck family, which is now into the 13th generation. I met the chairman of partners who is the 11th generation, Dr. Frank. Okay, and his grandchildren are that his next generation is already there. So it means that it is impossible. It is not impossible to build like that. So if we look at some of those families and try to understand how they have built businesses, and especially when you know that there is a huge resource basket, it's a win-win, correct? Okay, and so therefore I think it is important to understand why it doesn't happen. Okay, I call it an amoebic model. And most of the families, whether you take Chennai, whether you take Tamil Nadu or anywhere else, you find that it goes to certain size and splits. In some cases it is 10 crores you split, in some cases it may be 100 crores, in some cases it is 50 lakhs. And I was talking to the grandson of one of the local families a couple of years back. And he asked his grandfather as to why they are all suffering. They are all feeling threatened. All of them are in the same business. There is, I think, 15, 20 branches of the family. All of them are in the same or similar businesses. They started one and then they remain more or less in the same. And the boy was telling me that you don't need a tsunami to wipe them out. You need only a wind, because all of them are small. If a big company comes, everybody will be wiped out. Okay. So the grandfather said that I never wanted it, but it just happened. That's what the amoebic model. Okay. So if you look at your own families or your own relatives, or you would notice that very often this happens. And that's what Bala said, that in 3 generations everything gets over. So there is a saying in multiple languages. That's the reason I quoted from many global languages. Shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve in 3 generations. Which means that the first generation starts with shirt sleeve or sleeveless, maybe banyan. Okay, banyan and pajama or munda or something like that, veshti. Okay, they don't have anything. You start from scratch, hardship, no money. You may be bicycling to, if you want to, if you're a bread or sweets company, you bicycle, go around and sell it, or chai shop or something like that. And then the second generation, by the time the second generation comes, there is some wealth, comfortable living, but the second generation also grows up seeing the hardship, seeing the commitment, seeing the devotion of the family to hard work, relationship, values. Okay, so they add to the wealth, they add to the basket. But by the time that it comes to the third generation, typically many of the families are into the luxurious segment. You have all the luxuries of life, of not one car, many cars, not small car, big cars. You have multiple options, okay, living in bigger houses. So the material wealth goes up. And the children do not very often understand how the journey has been. Very often they are not told. Okay, if you ask the grandfather or grandmother, say that no, it's okay. And they don't even visit the place they lived. They may have lived in a LKG, not LKG, what is that, low income group, LIG flats. They must have started. They don't even go there. They will say that we have been here. If you call Hyderabad, it is Banjara Hills or Jubilee Hills. Okay. And once you have a house in Jubilee Hills, then you forget about that. So the grandchildren or the third or fourth generation grows up with this kind of a feeling. One, that they are all wealthy, they can afford to spend money, they don't understand the value of money. Okay. I remember when I grew up in a village. Okay. I went to the government schools. In Malayalam I studied everything. And when I was in my pre-degree, I used to think twice before spending 10 paise in my bus. Okay, whether I should walk 3 kilometers and save that 10 paise, or whether I should go by bus. And often I would say that the 10 paisa is more important, I can afford to walk. Right. So, but if you are born into prosperity, very often you are not allowed to understand the value of money, understand the value of relationship, understand the value of hard work. As a result, you assume everything. And then what happens is that you go to, if the parents give you pocket money, do you want a couple of 100 rupees more? Okay, you take it from the wallet and don't worry about it. No accounts are asked. Now, how you spend the money is not ever asked. So then what? The third generation often assumes everything. They wake up late because there is no responsibility. The office is already there. If you go there, you can go there. Office time may be 9 o'clock. You can go there at 10:30, and then you start stretching a little bit. Nobody is asking questions because you are the Malik's son, so you can't be asked questions. And then you go at 11 o'clock. And then, therefore, the father or the uncle doesn't want to give you any specific responsibility. Okay, so you spend some time around, ask some questions, and then 1 o'clock is time for lunch. Go to some good place, and somebody else will call up and say that, come on, let's have lunch together and have a couple of beers and bottles of beer, and then relax. And then that is time to go home, and you have to have a nap. Right, because and also there is nothing waiting for you in the office specifically. You go home, wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, come back to the office, spend a couple of hours, then that's time to go to the club. And then you know what happens in the club. Okay, then by the time it's a typical Delhi culture, for instance, is you have your dinner at 11 o'clock, come home at 2 o'clock, then wake up at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and the cycle repeats. Okay, in the process, the individual doesn't understand the critical challenges of the business, the critical challenges of running the business, critical resource requirements, and whether the individual has the requirement is there. You said about the grooming, but very often it doesn't happen. And also the father and grandfather are running the business. They are neck deep into business. They don't have the time to find out whether this guy is doing anything wrong. Okay, so there is a mismatch. So as a result, the business loses its competitiveness, the family becomes arrogant, or the children become arrogant. You fire some of the loyal employees, the new people come, they may not stay behind, and overall it starts sliding. If you look at the business history, let's say even Tamil Nadu or South India or across, you find this happening. That n number of cases you find. Coimbatore used to be a big city with a lot of traditional industries. What happened to many of those companies? The same thing in Hyderabad, same thing in Mumbai, same thing in Ahmedabad, anywhere. Okay, so I was incidentally talking to a group of youngsters from business families in ISB, and one of the sessions I was talking about this, so somebody asked me, what does it mean? So I explained like this. So then the session got over, and after 3-4 months I got a mail from somebody, an unknown guy who identified himself as a participant of that session where I explained the shirt sleeve, and he said that he thought that I was talking about him. Okay, he said he belonged to a business family, medium size, where he was behaving like this. He would wake up late and go and all. And then after the session, he made a decision. He knew the two things. One is that his responsibility. He realized that unless he worked hard, unless he adjusted himself well, his business, family business would go down. Okay, that's given. And once you know that only 5%, 6% or 10% would survive, the writing on the wall is very clear. The second thing is that he had inherited the wealth, or he was going to inherit the wealth from the family. He was a custodian, he was a trustee. He did not create anything. His father or grandfather created the wealth. So he didn't have a right to destroy it. He had the right to build on that, preserve it and pass it over. Okay. So he said that I'm going to do that. And when he went back, he came from Belgaum side, Bellary side in Karnataka. So he went back, and the next day onwards, he was attending a SP Jain program at that time. So he said the next day onwards, he would wake up early morning, he would be the first to reach the office. And after 1 week, people started noticing that this is not an isolated incident, but this is a pattern. Okay, he started seriously asking about the business, he started showing interest, he started asking questions to his father. And within 1 month, there was sort of a joyous atmosphere in the office as well as the home. The family was very happy that this chap was becoming more responsible. He was showing commitment. And father was feeling relieved that after me there is somebody to take care of the business. And he wrote to me from Shanghai, where his father had sent him to do some business. And he wrote to me because he said that I didn't want to write you immediately because I wanted to see that I was able to sustain that there is results. So within 3 months, his father developed the confidence to send his son to Shanghai to discuss some maybe machinery import or material import or whatever it is. Okay. So he said that he had changed, and subsequently the business did well and he was accepted well and he is doing well now. Okay. So my point is that very often the drift happens in families. It's not conscious. Okay, it's a slow drift. And that happens in many families, because of which the shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve happens. And Hindi we say that Haveli ka umr 70 saal hai, or even Shakespeare's children of the children are indifferent, the clock to clock in 3 generations. So I think that is the fundamental message. So building membership in family business is automatic, building is a responsibility. Any questions? Can you think of any other reasons why it happens? Why does it happen? In the shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve, it's not only because the youngster is not working hard, but
sometimes,
yeah.
the fathers.
Can you speak louder?
Sometimes the father, they are pokey because they build the business, they understand the value, and they don't believe. They are too much pokey. They ask questions every day. So this fellow gets frustrated. So I've been questioning.
So which means that interference or lack of responsibility allocation, too much of interference. Sorry?
He stops going to office the next day.
Right. So what is the result of the too much of interference?
He gets frustrated. So
He gets frustrated, and what next? What else?
that's what he stops.
No,
going
if
to
he stops working, his division may not work well, he may not contribute well, the business may go down.
yes.
Okay, and he will also try to fix the problem with the father. If he can give it back to father, that's also an opportunity, because father is interfering, so he will neglect. And if father asks him to do, he may not do it. So because the relationship comes down, the quality of relationship comes down, right? So the family relationship is another issue. This can be in many ways. It can be between 2 brothers. Often you find that 2 brothers working where they start very well. I mean, I'm just reading a case study of a family where the brothers committed, they resigned their job from their jobs and started the journey. They were working well, and then slowly many issues come. Sometimes it may be the ego issue. Okay, what are the other possible issues between 2 brothers or cousins, or any other issue you can think of? Sorry? Not clear about? Monetary, yes. Transparency, one is transparency, the other is clarity about how much you can earn or how much you can spend, clarity about the norms for utilizing the business money, and yet another thing, why does it happen? It's also because one is that the transparency is there, but financial norms. Why does it happen?
Because allowing the third party to come in.
Sorry?
Allowing a third person to come into the business and confusing them, between them.
Is that the only reason? Why does one person think that the other person is taking more money? And if you ask the other person, he would say that I'm working harder. I'm contributing more. You're running a small business or you're running a division. So I have the right to spend a little extra money. You take the economy class, I'll take business class. You have your holiday in Thoothukudi, I will have my holiday in Greece. Right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so why does it happen?
The norms are not set clear. That is
Norms, right. Why is it that the norm, there is a norm, equality, right?
Yeah.
Why is the equality now coming there? What is equality? If you take equality, why is it a problem in the business?
Because one person assumes much larger responsibility and the other person doesn't take.
Maybe that person is meritorious,
Yeah.
but in terms of rewards, it's not meritorious.
Meritorious, yeah.
Okay, so you find that in the business context, it should be meritorious. Decisions should be based on your capabilities. Somehow these things may be given on capability, but some of the other things are not. When it comes to sharing the wealth, sharing the rewards, you go by the equality thing, whereas this is meritorious. There could also be another reason, that the membership, automatic. There may be a great guy in the family who is meritorious and who is running the business, and his son or daughter may not be that great. Or let's say that the son or daughter is great. One child is brought because that person is meritorious. What will the second son or daughter want? What do they think? Any second son, daughter here? You're all eldest. Okay. So what do you think of some of the siblings coming in? Do you think that they are all capable, equally capable? You don't have to talk about your case. Your son, sibling is equally capable. No problem. But let's say, in general, do you think that all 5 fingers are equal? Okay.
Incompetency in the performance.
Sorry?
When there is a difference in the performance.
Yeah.
The younger is performing more than the elder. The attention, the focus of the society ultimately gets shifted to the next one who is really performing good.
Right.
And there starts the problem now.
Why does it create problem?
There is a difference in the performance. I
So-
am not being respected.
Yes. Why? Why can't he accept that I'm not up to the mark and therefore somebody else? If you're working for any, you have worked for any company?
No, I own a company.
You haven't. Okay. If I ask anybody working for, see, I am working for ISB. Some of my colleagues get better rewards than me. I mean, they get better increments, better bonuses, better positions and all. Why is it so? Because the decision is based on the meritocracy, right?
Yes.
Here we assume that it is automatic. If my brother is working or sister is working, I have a right to job there. Correct? In the family business, and if I don't deliver, I get the opportunity because my mother says that take him also, or the uncle says that, or father will say that he has also to come and join, because it's all equality based. But in terms of performance, it may not be based on automatic entry. Performance, the rewards will be based on performance. Rewards could be money, rewards could be appreciation, recognition in the society, many things. Okay. So here in the family, the membership is automatic. This is based on merit. Correct? Okay. So in essence, what happens is that here, and this is by birth, right? This is earned. Membership in the family is by birth. You happen to be born into the family. Here you have to earn the membership in the business. In essence, what it means is that this is more like a socialism. Correct? Family is socialistic. Everybody is equal. If there is food, you share it with everybody. If there is wealth, you share it with everybody. Correct? And everybody is equally treated in the family. If you are building 5 houses, you try to make 5 equally. And if a father is buying jewelry, he would like to buy it for all the children. Or if the father is making a FD, he would like, whether it is 10,000 rupees or 10 lakhs, he would like to make it equal. Okay. So that is socialism. What about this? If you are good, you will survive. Survival of the fittest. This is capitalism. Correct? So these are completely different systems. The family is one and business is yet another system. Fundamentally what happens is you apply the principles of socialism in the capitalistic context. You preach meritocracy, but when it comes to family members, you apply the same thing. Then there is contradiction. Okay? Understood? Agree or not? Typically, this is the problem. And why does it happen? There is also another dimension to that. If you look at the evolution of a business, typically the evolution is like this. If I take it on a firm life cycle, this is the typical firm life cycle. It's not as smooth as this, the outer ring road. Okay, this is all bumpy with jerks and you know that. Okay, every day there is a crisis, uncertainty and all. Okay, so through this phase, in the initial time, the business is a subset of the family. When it goes to the founder, for him or her, there is no difference between family money, business money. When the business needs money, you ask the lady in the house to pledge the gold, take the money, take it. When it comes, it is there. When you have a wedding in the family, you take money from the business, right? Because this is a subset. And you may have other things, you may have farming, you may have other something or other. So this perception continues. And in the early days when you are not recruiting people from outside, all family members will come and work here. So there is no merit there. There is whoever is available, come and contribute to that. Okay, so that is the culture. And the family believes that the business is theirs. They can do whatever they want. But as the business expands, when you have more competition coming, what is required is the business survival depends on its competitiveness. And competitiveness comes only if you do it meritoriously. Isn't it? So, if slowly you start applying the principles of business in the family, in the context, and then you find that there is a contradiction. Okay. And if you go back to this, and if you increase the list, we don't have the time. If I go down the list, my experience is that 99% of the reasons are internal, family related. Recently, I did an exercise with a group of family business people in ISB, a training program. I asked them, why does it happen, the shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve? And we listed not this big board. Okay, I wrote down whatever they said. Finally, I found that there was one item which is not internal. External pressures, market conditions. Okay, the business may go down for market conditions also, product life cycle kind of thing. And many of all the others are internal to the family. So that's the reason I say the family creates, family preserves, and family destroys family businesses. Okay, and that is precisely the reason why across the generation the families are not able to maintain that. Okay, so if you go back into this, there is also another dimension to that. Here, you have the family, you have non-family people interested in the business, stakeholders. You may recruit a finance person, you may recruit a CEO, you may recruit somebody else. You have bankers who have a stake. In some cases, their stake is much more than the families, because if they have finance 70%, then the stake is very high. So there are non-family stakeholders in the business. You have, let's say, business. What does the family think? They think like this. I have recruited him, so I have the right to dictate whatever I want. I can ask him to deliver value. I can ask him to work. But in the family, I can't ask my son because it is socialism. Okay, and this is my family, my business. If I don't like this person, I can fire. And I am here, I am the owner, and he is here, employee. Okay. Whereas the business expands because of the contribution of these people, as well as there are many other people. So this leads to a lot of conflicts. And your ability to see business as a separate entity, and business requires a different set of what I call the critical success factors. Here, what is the critical success factor for a family? What makes the family united? What makes the family live together? What do you think? What do you think?
Open communication.
Yes, let me ask her. Thank you. Sorry? Values? Values like?
Your culture, your moral values.
Right, moral values. Emotion, emotional bonding, caring, trust, taking care of everybody else. Okay, love, affection, caring kind of things. What are the critical success factors for a business? Professionalism means what? One is aggressiveness in the context of the success of the business. You are not aggressive independent of the context, right? Aggressiveness in the context. That means that you need to have the capabilities. Okay, you need to have the capabilities to make this successful. So here, this is more of competitiveness and requirements of competitiveness, knowledge, skill, attitude. Aggressiveness is an attitude, right? Here, this is a different kettle. So if you have the business expanding, and when these two are becoming more and more important, if you are having a petikada, small shop, chai shop, it doesn't matter so much. Whereas if you grow slightly bigger, the competitive pressures are more. And with the current context of where the product life cycle is becoming shorter and shorter, or smaller and smaller, you have to be responding to the market aggressively. Okay, so you need a different set of capabilities. Whereas if you here, you need a different set of capabilities. Whereas if the family thinks that all the family members can park themselves there, very often families think that business is an employment exchange. I don't know whether you have seen it or not. And very often children of the family think that they have a right to go and work. Okay, I was talking to a medium-sized entrepreneur, medium-sized business entrepreneur in Germany recently. So I asked him how about family, and he said that mine is a family business and all. So I asked whether your children would join you. When are they joining? He said, Prof, there is nothing like an automatic entry for my children into my business. They are doing their whatever apprenticeship in Germany. They are doing it. They have to go and work outside for minimum 2 years in manufacturing. This is a manufacturing company. He said that they have to get a job based on their own qualifications. I'm not going to recommend. They have to earn a job first. Okay, that itself is a test. So that means they have to study well, they have to prove themselves, they have to work outside 2 years, and then I will think. If I think that they are the right people for my business, I will ask them to come. If they want to start something as a father, I will give them capital. That's a different thing, seed capital. But if they want to come and work here, and he said that I spent 30 years to build this. The similar things one of the big families in India told me. His 2 sons, both of them are extraordinarily bright. Okay, this guy is an IIT, IIM, built the business on his own, first generation entrepreneur. The 2 children went to top schools in India and outside. And I did some work with them a couple of years back. So during that discussion, I realized that the father told me that the kids are not, kids are into the 3rd generation phenomenon already. Okay, they compete to spend. Because one brother will cancel his trip if he can't get a business class ticket. And he stays, if he goes to Bombay, he stays only in the president special suite, and his dinner bill will be about 25,000 rupees or something like that. Okay, so the younger brother started competing and all. So that's a long story. So the father was desperate, what to do kind of thing. So when I had the interaction with the 2 sons, they're very talented, bright guys. So I asked, what are the plans? Your father is going to be 60. Well, Bhaiya and me, we have, they don't like each other, basically. Okay. But there is one agreement. Both of them said that Bhaiya and me, we have made an agreement that Bhaiya will take that business and I will take this business. Okay, they have multiple business. So I said that fine, good. So when I had my debriefing with the chairman, the father, so I told him, what is your plan for future? So Ram, I'm very concerned about it. My children are not shaping up very well. I think I'm to blame. I did not spend enough time with them, grooming them, and all those things I said. So I said that your children have some certain plan for succession. So he said, what is that? He said that so-and-so said that he will get that business, that the other person said that he will get. And he started laughing. So that they must be kidding. I did not slog for 30 years, 35 years to build this business into a 1,000 crore company for my children to come and destroy it in a week's time. I know that if I give the key to them, they will finish it off in 2 weeks' time. Okay. And I'm not going to allow that. I will create wealth. I want my grandchildren to benefit. So I'm going to create 2 trusts, beneficiary trust. Nobody can touch it. The benefits of it will go into the children, grandchildren. My children, even if they destroy whatever they have, they will get monthly so much. So I don't want my children to suffer because I love my children. But I don't want the business to be destroyed. Business will continue to be. Okay. So what I'm saying is that unless that kind of a orientation comes from within the family, and unless that attitude changes, where the business is an automatic entry for family, that changes, things will continue. Okay, that will create problems. So in families, some of the families, for instance, Sudarshan Chemicals in Pune, which is a mid-size pigment manufacturing company, they have a very clear family governance system. There's a third generation family business, mid-size. So it must be about 800,000 crores or so. Very clear policy. Anybody, all family members will become shareholders. And all of them will be eligible to get their dividend income over a period of time. Okay. You got the children as they grow up, they get some few shares, then they get some more shares later. But if anyone wants to come and work in the company, minimum they have to have a chemical degree from a top university in the US. Why US? They have decided. Okay, but let's not get into the question whether it is US is better or not. But they said that top university in the United States, you have to have a undergraduate chemical engineering degree. If you want to get into a top school, you have to be very good. And you have to perform well to get a degree. On top of it, we would prefer them to go to one of the Ivy League or top schools for a MBA before coming back. The chairman is from Columbia. The founder is a MIT PhD. Okay, so education is very important. They said that this is one basic thing. So if anybody wants to come and work here, the rule is very clear. Everybody has accepted that. Without that, you cannot come, because this is the source of wealth, and we will preserve it at any cost. This is the reason why the Merck family has an election system. 150 plus 153 shareholders, partners are there. They elect the right person who can be the custodian of the wealth. And the current chairman, the chairman of the partners, he is not a technologist. He came from the investment banker. Dr. Frank is an investment banker. He's a PhD in finance. But he was found to be the best person to preserve it. Okay. So Sudarshan has other rules. Say that if you want to work, you have to come on time. 8 o'clock is the factory time, you have to be there. You have to swipe your card, like any other employee. You can go to the canteen and eat with anybody else. There is no private chairman's lunch or anything like that. Okay, you are eligible for your salary like any other employee. If you want extra money, you can ask your parents. Okay, and that it must be from the dividend income. So what I'm saying is that as the business expands, unless this understanding that the business is different from the family, and family is socialistic, business is capitalistic, and the critical success factors for business are different, family businesses will continue to fail. Okay, they will not be able to survive and grow. Okay. And over a period of time, you will have a third stakeholder. You have the family, you have the business, you may have outside investors. Their priorities may be different. If you have a private equity firm, even if it is a joint venture partner, their priorities may be different. So, essentially my point is that it is important for business family members to understand that it is a complex system. There are multiple systems working. Some of them are contradicting with each other or conflicting with each other in terms of socialism or capitalism. And that understanding is fundamental to building family business. If that is there, then your own appreciation for others, appreciation for the role, appreciation for the capabilities, appreciation for what the founders have done, what you can do, and this education is required for not only for the next generation but everybody. Okay, so that's the reason I was running a program for the seniors of we have an MBA program for the family business people. So I was running a program for the senior generation members for them, because that understanding is very much required, and that's the reason why I mentioned at the beginning that Metis is doing a great job by organizing such events, because there is a huge need for education, awareness creation in this country. Right, prosper across generations. So we have to understand the uniqueness and paradoxes successfully. Some of these I have already covered. I'll just pass through that. So there are unique challenges. If you look at the family and business, there are more dimensions mentioned here. Yeah, relationship is natural in a family. It is planned relationship. You cannot fire in the family. You can fire. Entitlement. This is meritocracy. Informality. Formality. Tradition. No, this is organized. Structure systems driven. And here is largely values. This is socialism and compassion. Here capitalism. Okay. So I think you can get a copy of this, isn't it? You send soft copy or something like that? Yeah. Okay. So it's better to accept. That's why the Merck family said that we have been there for long, primarily because from the very beginning we were very clear that only the capable people should be there. I asked Dr. Anand Berman, who is the chairman of the Dabur group, when they went for the decision, 98, 99, around that time they withdrew completely from operations. The entire clan of Bermans were running the business. Okay, they were all marketing, production, HR, finance, everything was run by the family. And then they withdrew from that. So I asked them, was it difficult? It was. Because till now you have a visiting card. As the executive director, production, marketing or something, you have a corner office in the building and you have a perks and other things like that. And when they withdrew, all of this gone. But over a period of time, they got adjusted to that. The reason is, one is that they get good money now. Much better money. Okay. Which was some, I think, 500, 600 crores or 700 crores at that time, to now about 3,000, 4,000 crores. Good dividend. The family control is still high. And all of them have enough time for doing new entrepreneurial activities, new investments, for wealth management. Okay. So I asked recently also, I asked him, he said that the family is very happy. The family doesn't get involved. There are 4 family members sitting on the board. They have an oversight as to what's happening. Okay. So the key point is that it is important to understand what the family should do and family can do. I don't for a moment say that you have to withdraw from the business now. Okay. My point is that understand that merit is very important. Appreciate that and facilitate that. Okay. The merit may come from within the family, merit may come from outside the family. So you have to see that business is different, the critical success factors are different. Let's do whatever is required for that. And this is the diagram I just drew. Okay. And also you have a lot of this crisis stages as the organization changes. So that adds to the complexity. So this is the family and business. Family business owners together in the initial stages, and that changes over a period of time. It's very, very important. There are a lot of other complexities. A family member who is not involved in the business, who is not a shareholder, may have a completely different view of the business. Often, let's say that the mothers who don't understand the business, they will say that both the children should have equal job, equal facilities, and if let's say that the father is driving the business, if he says that the business requires different skills and somebody has to be better than the other, the mother, because she is coming from the socialistic background, love, affection, she doesn't understand the critical success factors. So there is also a need for educating family members who are not involved in the business. Okay, so they have to understand how the 2 circles or 3 circles work. And the transformation is not at all easy. There are many other challenges. Okay, this is the firm life cycle with its own crisis. On top of it, you have another one, the family life cycle. Okay, family is one generation to another generation to third generation. There are huge differences. Okay, so we already spoke about that if there are 2 brothers who start together, maybe after 10 years there are divisions, because the circle of influence changes. When I am unmarried, my priority is myself and my parents. When I am married, then my stakeholders are different. Okay, so over a period of time, my own priorities change. So the same thing happens in the family. So there are families also go through these changes. So you have a very, very interesting but sometimes irritating or frustrating situation where the business is changing, the family is changing, and you don't know what to do. Okay. Currently, there are other changes. Family is structural complexity is increasing. Individualism is growing up. Everybody nuclear families kind of thing. Communication quality is coming down within the family, across family units. On the other side, business is becoming more and more competitive. There are family, non-family. They have to coexist. Your non-family professionals and family professionals have to coexist. And family professional may be wearing 2 hats or 3 hats. Family professionals, you people must be having family membership, business membership, maybe ownership, some shares also. Versus the family, non-family executive who has only the business hat. Okay. So there it creates its own complexity. And succession dilemmas, who should succeed or whether there is somebody who is good enough to succeed or not. I did an exercise with my MBA family business students and their parents. Okay, I asked these questions to the seniors as well as the juniors. Do you have a shared vision? 69% of the seniors said yes, shared vision within the family. 51%. When I asked the same families, juniors, this is only 51%. When you come down, shared growth aspiration, 73 said that we are all together. 62 said that we only 62% agree that there is a shared aspiration. Do you have frank communication? Okay, in the family, it drops down heavily. So trust in the family's members' intentions. Again, the junior generation doesn't believe in so. This is actually retirement is not 15%, it's 85%, the other way. Lack of clear policies. Retirement, there is absolutely no policy. Most people do not want to retire. Okay. And the seniors also admitted that there is no policy. So if you have these kinds of complexity added to the typical dilemma of this, I only pray to God to save you, because it's not easy, it's challenging. But you have that, if you look at the resource basket, you have the opportunities, you have the capabilities, you have the challenges. So if you address these challenges properly, you have the opportunity to build. And that's what these Murugappas have done, that is what the Godreges have done or others have done. They have built because of the understanding, clarity as well as commitment. The commitment to work together, live together, allow whoever is capable to run the business. Okay. The Murugappas also have certain rules as to who can come, and they do not allow incompetent family members to get into publicly listed companies. They have private companies, that's a private thing. But publicly listed companies, they ensure that the salary is on par with the meritorious outsiders. Okay, only meritorious people will be working. They have their own principles, they have their own rules and all.
So, just a minute.
Yeah.
Get back to the old slide.
Yeah.
When you find that juniors are always scoring less, I mean, in terms of the numbers, percentage, was the question coined just as a shared vision? Because probably, I think seniors would have answered this question taking into account their own siblings, that is their brothers and, you know, maybe they wouldn't have considered whether the shared vision is with the juniors. Was the question coined in that sense?
The full question was,
what was the full question?
do you have a shared vision within the family?
That's what I'm saying. So when that question comes to me, immediately first thing would be my brothers. I would think of the younger generation. Probably that could be the reason. Or if you had asked the question, do you have a shared vision with your juniors, I mean the next generation, probably the percentage would change here.
Right. But precisely, my point is that when I say family, it includes everybody within the family.
No, perfect, sir.
Right.
Your intention is right. But when we answer from this side, like probably when it comes to juniors, it becomes a cousin consortium. When you ask the seniors, it is always their own brothers, the blood.
Right.
So probably the question could have been, you know, so that is why all the juniors.
No, I agree. So which
saying, I'm just trying to add value to the whole thing.
Right. So your point is that had the question been asking about shared vision across all family members.
No, the true meaning of the question taken in the right sense by the people who are answering.
Right.
Like immediately if you ask a junior means immediately in a joint family with third generation, they'll be cousins. But when you talk to a senior, a second generation, it will all be brothers. So probably he would have thought he's talking about shared vision among his brothers. His insight into taking the question also with other members, when it, you know, the moment I ask something to you, you will only think of your brothers in a family.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. Again, I'm coming to that. That is why the percentage is more here and juniors are less.
And therefore, what it reflects is that the juniors feel that they are not involved in the shared vision. They are not involved in the discussion. So, which is dangerous. Okay. So, there is sort of a frustration among the junior members, the next generation members, that these guys decide and we are there to execute. But whereas we are the future, we are the stakeholders, and these are not the 20-year-old kids. Okay. People who have worked there, who have some more experience, and where the co-creation of the vision, co-creation of the strategy would have been better, which is not often happening. Okay. So, what it says is that in a sense, if you take the two columns, essentially there is a gap in terms of what the seniors think, what the juniors think, or what the seniors experience or the juniors experience. And my point is that there is a need to build this gap in terms of many of these things. And that happens because if you do not have policies, if you do not have discussion, why don't they have policies? Because creating policies is not easy. There are uncomfortable questions. So you want to tuck them under the carpet. Okay. So that creates frustration. And often the junior people, when you talk to them, and I'm sure you all agree, that once there is an open discussion, maybe you are all okay with that. Whatever decisions. I mean, when we do work on family constitution, we have open discussion. And when recently also I'm working with a family and we had some 8 cousins sitting, brothers, cousins and all. And when we said that these are the good things, these are the right things to do, and they said that that's fine. For instance, all of them said that the reward should be based on the contribution. Okay. When I asked the seniors, they said that it should be equal. Okay. So, the seniors think that the juniors will find it difficult to have differential compensation. But the juniors said that we are comfortable. If my cousin does work more, he should be rewarded more. I have no problem. Okay. So, what I am saying is that there is a need for having better quality communication and clarity among them. Okay. I think that is the basic message.